How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Lucky Trader NFT Show. I am Preston Johnson, your host, alongside Ham at the desk, the big boy table, man. Welcome back.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm great. Life is good. I'm fantastic. We have Quan producing over here on the side. We don't have a special guest today, but there's so much going on just in the Web3 NFT space. We said, hey, let's just do a show where we rap back and forth about some of the main topics. We'll get caught up on everything. Next week, we do have a planned guest. Not 100%, so I won't say who it is. We'll say 90%, and then we'll just kind of continue with some of our interviews that we've been doing in the past. But we took a week off last week. I was in London. We can touch on that later at the end of the show a little bit, but we're back. What's happened the last 2 weeks? Like, what's going on? Like, let's let everybody know.
I'm just trying to make it, man, out here.
You actually, I respect, for people that don't know Ham, he's on Twitter. You got the Twitter handle there underneath, but you're like a grinder. And this is my thing is like, I was grinding at the beginning of 2021 and then like just got exhausted and stopped and kind of, and like I was telling you earlier, right before we hit record, I don't really sell anything. So it just sits there and I never actually make any money, but you're grinding. You're like always tweeting about make sure to take profits. Like you really are like systematic about it. You were just talking about planets and referring to like some of the price bounces the last 2 days with Pixel Vault stuff. Give people a little bit about your process, just because normally you're behind the desk producing, and just curious as a collector, like what you're doing, and then we'll jump into some of the topics for today.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I kind of pull from history of playing poker, tournament poker, playing daily fantasy sports. And so when I approach NFTs, I kind of look at it just like an ongoing decision-making game. You're hit with decisions at every turn, and you're just trying to make the best decisions that you can. And kind of like sports betting, if you're making good decisions over time, that should add up, and kind of give you an edge over time. So that has kind of backfired to some degree too, because like with Bored Apes, for example, like, I do think taking profits is important. I think it's important when you're up a certain amount to take profits, but Bored Apes is an example of something.
So when you sold at 20 ETH, you're upset about that?
Oh, I'm not upset, but it's one of those things where it's like I didn't think that not just literally not doing anything was the best move, and now we see it's over 100 ETH floor, which is remarkable and something we definitely should be talking about. But that didn't really go with my process. Just hodl, that wasn't my process.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it plenty on my past stuff I've done content for with sports betting, but like process is important, and you can't let like small sample like events affect your process, right? So you can't like get down on yourself too much. There weren't too many people though that envisioned that quickly for Bored Ape to just jump over 100 and flip punks. That was big news about a month ago now, maybe. So I just respect that. For one, you brought that up because a lot of people are probably in the same boat. So like you're not the only one, but that you have a process at all and that you're approaching it that way is, for one, I think for people that are more risk averse and like they just want to try to do something that gives them a shot, but they're not gambling at all. It's like, there's a process to it and system to it. Like that's a better way to approach it, in my opinion. So well done. You're not just randomly minting everything. You have something that you're doing that has worked so far. So congrats on that.
Yeah, if I could simplify like my general game plan, it's at least buy 3. Whatever you get, at least buy 3 or multiples of 3. Let's say 9, right? You're getting into something, you're not sure, you're going to ape in. If I get 9, I'm looking to move 3 kind of like on that big hype spike early on and get my money back. Then holding 6, let's say, and move another 3 at a later point to take profit. And then have 3 more to kind of just like ride it out and be part of that community and ride it out. That's, and
if it really like bounces, you can sell one of those 3 or something. Once I did hear early on that helped me is always mint at least 2 of something or buy at least 2 of something you like. Yeah. Because if you only have 1, you're never going to sell. Yeah. And then you're never going to make a profit. But if you have 2, you might eventually decide to sell 1 because you still have 1 if you do. And so that's just advice, I guess, in general that I still didn't listen to it. I still have probably at least 2 of everything that I actually liked outside of a few art blocks pieces. But the PFP stuff, it's fascinating to me. So.
You're just diamond hands, you're just diamond hands,
Yeah, I'm not, it's definitely like been bad a lot though too. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I'm trying to think of anyway, there's plenty of projects that just die.
Yeah.
So then I'm diamond handing like 9 of something that is worth nothing. So it's a higher variance approach is all. But hopefully in 10 years it works out, right? Cool. Let's get into, we want to talk, I know you want to especially ask me a few questions about Pixel Vault, but big news today regarding the 100 million that's been going into the company for this kind of chapter 2 mainstream media building powerhouse that Pixel Vault will be. We have Cool Pets from Cool Cats in the mix. Looks Rare, which I love what happened there. We can get into some of that. We can talk a little bit about London and WAGMI United, and then Super Bowl at the end, just because the Super Bowl is fun. And there might be something happening at halftime. Just going to leave it at that. Keep your eye out. And it's not Bored Ape related, but I do want to ask you about that too at the end. But let's kick it off. Your first questions, I guess we'll start. We'll lead with Pixel Vault. Yeah, you were listening. I had a call. You were listening on the town hall, though.
Yeah, I was in the town hall. Just generally very positive. And obviously the big news is the 100 million raise. And so just to set the stage a little bit for people who don't know, Preston, Sports Cheetah, he's a co-creator of Punk's comic and a big holder. And you've been there from the beginning to see it unfold and reach amazing heights, and also through FUD. Now, through this most recent kind of process here, what do you know, or what can you tell us about Velvet Sea Ventures and 01 Advisors, and why you think they were a good fit, and kind of how this came together?
I'm sure Sean will speak to the specifics of why they're a good fit here over time as he starts doing more appearances in media, or they do the weekly town hall weekly. So you'll have some of that. But actually, he was in LA. Sean was, G-Funk was in LA Monday night, had dinner with him, saw him right before I left to London the week prior too. We go a ways back prior to this whole NFT thing, but I will say, I can't speak to specifics, but the amount of just like powerful people he's networked with now, thanks to like Lazaro and Adam Bain, and you have Dick Costello, who's like former Twitter. Like it's the most powerful people in the world now that are networking to build this decentralized Disney. That's the 2-word pitch. I believe Sean used that exact thing today quite a bit on the in the town hall. And it's more than just, hey, we're NFTs. We did IP with like blockchain native assets, right? Started with the 16 CryptoPunks that built from there with Meta Heroes, et but it's a whole presence they're going to basically present that's Web3 native in the real world. Try to like let's make it as mainstream as we can, and bring as many mainstream audience people to the practicality of what Web3 and NFTs can create. Obviously, there's tons of talk about the AAA studio video game. That's obviously a process and a project that'll take a few years, but having those people in your back pocket's pretty strong, like ace up your sleeve. And I'll say this, and I don't think Sean would get mad at me for saying this. If he does, then I'll work it out on the side, but it's not like anything too secret but like what's so great about NFTs in general and the Web3 space is it really incentivizes artists and creators to maximize their returns on what they're creating, like literally. So in Pixel Vault's sense, from the comics to everything else they've done since Meta Heroes, right? Like they're keeping a lot of that revenue, and then there's secondary market revenue that goes to all artists on all the NFT projects, a certain percentage. And I think I think the article today said almost 100,000 ETH in volume now on their NFTs, the 100,000 ETH. So multiply that by 2,700 or over $250 million. Pixel Vault didn't necessarily like need the funding money in a financial sense to sustain, right? That's what's like the beauty of this whole setup of Web3. But to become that powerhouse, to be decentralized Disney, you need all the brains and like the networking that all of these people provide, Lazaro and Bain and Dick. So having that group with currently I think there's 30 people on the Pixel Vault roster, like it's just like a perfect setup for this new chapter that still we are all trying to figure out, because it's like, what's the metaverse? What's Web3 really? Like if there's anyone that's set to like nail it though, they're one of the, I think they've established themselves as like one of the blue chips. So shout out to the whole Pixel Vault team. Sean, I tweeted earlier today, he went from, like there's this idea we should try to do it. I don't really have enough money to make it happen to now, he's probably gonna be a billionaire by the end of this year, if not sooner. And so shout out to Sean. He's probably not going to listen or watch.
You tweeted broke to billionaire was the.
he said the same words. He literally, yeah, it took a lot more than just, I think the article referenced he had like 20,000 in his bank account, which by all means, like that's not broke. Because I think someone tweeted at me and was like, oh, 20,000. Like a lot of people don't have 20. I understand that it cost Sean a lot more than that 20,000 to put Pixel Vault off the ground, like to actually make it happen outside of the other people that were involved, including myself. So like Sean was like all in plus some, and quite literally then was like, he had a negative balance to his name when that launched, and now he is who he is. So, I mean, we were joking around earlier, but it was like, maybe throw a first pitch at a Dodger game later this year or something like I bet you it happens. Like he's just going to be that guy now. Everyone will know, oh, Sean Guerin, like, okay, yeah, he's the G-Funk guy from Twitter, but he's a big deal.
So going back to kind of how this started, I mean, you come from a betting background, assessing risk, taking edges where they're available. What motivated you to take the risk that you did? I mean, you put a CryptoPunk into this vault. Yours is one of the 16 that are in there. What really triggered it for you?
So what's great about having the background in betting or just like assessing risk in general, I mean, people that don't know my background, I was at ESPN as a sports betting analyst for 2 years until February of 2021. My contract ended, and I was just sitting there basically, do I do that again? They did offer me another contract, contrary to some opinion on Twitter where I got let go. They did. And I was like, you know what? I could do this again, or there's so much opportunity in this new space of NFTs and Web3. The bet, when you're actually like financially, is how I'm looking at it. It's fun to talk about sports and stuff. Great. But it's not working for ESPN. It's like, this is your salary. Web3 stuff, it's such an asymmetric bet that I was lucky to get into crypto early on enough. I was just like, I'm going to put a good portion of what I have in crypto into some NFT stuff. And so this idea in general is the whole genesis of it was, okay, great. We have these NFTs. We have CryptoPunks. Most people are priced out now. I think the floor at the time was like $50K for a CryptoPunk. And they're all like, so what do you do with it? Like, oh, maybe there's like actual like IP and brand you could build around your NFT assets. Like a comic would be cool. What if we get like a DC or Marvel illustrator, Chris Wall from Australia, to like build characters out of the punks, and then you do a story, and it just snowballed from there. But it was that idea of there should just be more than like JPEGs on a screen, although people always like ironically make the joke of right click and save because it is just a JPEG. But obviously we know there's a lot more to ownership and, digital, social status, online, whatever. But also that still is like pretty capped. Like we wanted to actually show like the practicality of what these digitally native assets can be. So that was the essence of it. And for me, it just seemed like too good of a bet to pass up on that I quite literally left ESPN, a gig that's like the best one I've ever had, like for 2 years, to do this stuff. So it's been also a great decision. Obviously, don't regret it at all.
Yeah. So touching on that, I mean, it hasn't been that long. It's been 8 months about, and it's obviously up. Your bet is up a lot. So, what's your kind of takeaway and your feel about where you're standing now with that risk that you took?
Super blessed, obviously. Look, I just talked about how I never take money off the table, right? I never sell anything. I probably should start this year. The thing that gets me, and I'm like I'm easy to get like excited about stuff. Like I go to London, I get like super bullish on what this stuff is happening with Wagme United and getting this football club over there. I meet with Sean and have a dinner for an hour and a half, and it's just like this, and it's like, holy cow, like why would I ever sell it? Like anything. I'm not selling anything. Anyway, so my whole like approach for now and like mindset is we're still pretty early, which I think most people would actually agree when it like the long scope of it. So it's you know, am I going to random PFP project number 73 that I minted? Am I going to hold those forever? Probably not. But in this case, I have no reason to sell my Pixel Vault stuff or anything on that front. And I probably, the one thing I regret, it was interesting. We'll hit on this and then we can move on. Coming from the sports side and then doing this and like, hey, we have this like big project, big undertaking. I had to try to weigh how often can I tweet and talk about this kind of weird thing called Punk's comic that's about to come out with my sports audience that most don't really care or get it. And then at what point do I become annoying and like actually piss that audience off? And I have like some like friendly like jabs every once in a while, like, oh, like, yeah, this is all you shill now. It's like this Punk's comic thing. But those are the same people that like 3-4 months ago were like, wait, this is over 100x now, and now it's even higher, right? For people that actually minted for 0.2 ETH at the time. Now it's like maybe 1,000x with all the staking rewards and stuff for the last month and a half. It's I wish I had actually shilled it harder now, and right, and had more people in my sports audience like in on it early. So that's what I'm trying to do. Once we can be more public with WAGMI United, I think it's going to be another home run, and Pixel Vault is involved with that as well. So we're set up pretty nicely there, and it's just hard not to be excited about this whole stuff.
Yeah, and Sean said that in the town hall today, that he made a good point that when you take, actually it might have been Adam Bain who said it, you know, when you take VC money, that's the beginning. You know, they're not taking the money and oh, okay, we did it. No, this is now
it's a 10-year project now. Yeah.
The runway is now getting cleared for takeoff. And so you're bullish. I'm in the same boat. And so I appreciate that.
I mean, the only reason, you were early, give you some love too. I don't even remember, you reached out, or at some point we connected and you're like, no, I live in Southern California too. You like minted, you were early, you were minting stuff, and you're like, hey, can we meet up for lunch? And so that was the only reason we first got acquainted like in real life versus just online. But you've held for the most part stuff. I know you've actually overloaded, I think, on planets more recently. So you're in for the long haul as well. Just don't get scared. Just, I would hold strong. I was trying to convince them before. Yeah, just do it.
Yeah, and that kind of brings us to another point before we move off of this topic, which it's kind of like the elephant in the room, and that's Beanie. And I don't know how much you want to talk about that or not, but I would say, you know, I was a follower of his Twitter account, you know, before I knew you, before I knew this project, and look, he was doing things that were new to me. Like, he was making these big NFT flips. He's buying a Punk for, you know, 100 ETH and then selling it 3 days later for 200 ETH. And it's like, that turns heads. Like, wow, what just happened here? And it did help kind of open my eyes to the space. Now, at the time, you know, he was a kind of like a rising phoenix in the space, and just, you couldn't avoid Beanie if you were in NFT Twitter. And he ended up becoming involved in this project. But, you know, what was your experience just kind of dealing with him throughout that early process?
So the reason you're asking is because there's a bunch of stuff that came out about him recently, publicly. There was a thread from NFT Ethics, which was referenced in one of the articles today, I believe, that Lazaro put together. People can go and find that. Basically, you know, he's done some stuff in his past. He got doxxed. He's not involved with Pixel Vault anymore. So that's that simple. And that was always kind of a transition that's been in fruition since November. I know people say like, oh, you just did this now. I promise it's been something that they've been working out since November. So like, what was it like in the beginning when we didn't know all of this stuff? Yes. Like you don't know unless you really go in and like do a deep dive on the guy. I didn't have like a PI that I hired.
He's anonymous.
And he's anonymous. He's a guy literally named Beanie on the internet. The first interaction we ever had was, I've told this story before back in the day, just kind of the genesis of this all was Sean and I, since we were 50-50 on a bunch of NFT stuff we were doing together, and we wanted to buy Euler Beat, one of the like Genesis 25 LP Euler Beats. Like people can look it up. It's like a music NFT, kind of started revolutionizing like bonding curves and royalty streams. Beanie had one of the 25 Genesis LPs. We made a deal to buy it for 100 ETH from this anonymous guy named Beanie. Sean, this is actually pretty funny. Sean, I think, have I told you this? So Sean I sent Sean my 50. Sean had his 50, and it was his 3-year anniversary with his girlfriend. They were out at dinner, and I was on Zoom at home with Beanie, telling him like, all right, we're gonna send you the 100 ETH. That was like what made it kind of comfortable, where we could front the 100, and he was kind of creating a platform for himself on Twitter, so he didn't feel like he was just gonna like rug us for the 100 ETH. And so I just want to make sure he sent it. And he's like, oh, we'll just go on Zoom. Like, you can see my face and like, it'll be cool. So we did, but it was funny because Sean's phone died while he was at the dinner. We couldn't send the 100 ETH to Beanie. Like, it was literally the worst timing. So then on his anniversary, Sean's like with the stewardess at the front, like asking for a charger. He's sitting there waiting for his phone to turn back on so he can send the 100 ETH to literally an anonymous guy named Beanie on the other side of the world. We don't know where this guy is.
And we do not recommend making trades like this. Right?
Yeah, I would typically not make a trade like that. That speaking of like asymmetric bets, there's a lot of downside on sending someone 100 ETH first with nothing coming back potentially. We did it though. He sent it and it was good. We're like, okay, so that built some trust right away, and that's why it was like, okay, well, we have this idea, like maybe we should do it together, and then all this other stuff came out. But I will say this: the Medium article that came out, that was like a pretty big hit piece on like started like on Beanie, which a lot of it's probably true on the Beanie front, but there were a lot of things about Pixel Vault and Sean that were not true, and I can attest. I tweeted about a few of them, and literally a day later the article got pulled, probably for defamation or something. It was just stuff that was not true. Like, hey, look guys, look on chain, like Beanie's 100% the founder of Punk's Comic and Pixel Vault. Look, all of the proceeds from the Punk's Comic mint went to Beanie's wallet. You can see it. It's on chain. He just hired Sean to be his like front facing guy. And even I got, if you follow the chain a little further, like Anon, like it goes to G-Funk gets half, and like half of G-Funk's goes to sportscheetah.eth. Like all you have to do is follow a few more steps. I even got proceeds from the first comic. So it's a lot of that stuff was actually not true. That was really like pinging Pixel Vault, the company, and Sean. So I was happy to like clear some air there online and here, I guess now. But it's as far as Beanie's concerned, like he has his own little genius up there. He flips stuff crazy. He's been a part of some wild stuff, but in the end, you know.
Yeah, and I'm not defending Beanie, but that Medium article, I mean, there were facts in there. There were on-chain facts in there, but there were partial facts, and it was missing important details, and it really was like, it looked like a hit piece. I was very vocal on Twitter about that's what I thought about it. It caused a big dip in the market. I was buying the dip, and not financial advice, but I was, you know, telling people I think this is an opportunity, and sure enough,
pretty quickly you're back to where even higher to where it was before.
Doubled up from that kind of dip from there, more or less. And another thing that Sean brought up in the town hall today is that all of those assets that were under Beanie's control have fully been transferred to Pixel Vault, and Pixel Vault is in possession of that IP and those tokens. And so, you know, that's what you do. You get new information. In this case, there was very concerning information about his past. As creators, as founders, you have to make decisions. The company was very quick to make the right decision and move on. And my understanding is that the VCs kind of helped clean that up too, and really make that a clean break. And so here we are now, moving on. And so
before we do, I haven't noticed this before with anybody, but you have 2 phones right now. Do you have an NFT phone? You have like family and friends, and then like NFT?
Yeah, I have like a real life phone, like an IRL phone, and then like a DGen phone. You know?
I haven't seen that yet, but it's actually brilliant. It's probably going to happen more and more often.
Don't ask.
Is it for security? Like,
no,
I don't know. Or do you actually? I'm just going to stop asking questions.
Yeah, one of the phones was issued by a company, and the other one is my personal. So I download stuff on one of them, and the other one I keep more professional.
Got it.
Yeah.
I've actually, just to be safe, I've never used my phone to do NFTs. Like my wallet address, like transaction 0 on my mobile. I just do it all from my laptop, which has cost me sometimes. Like I don't live in my house next to my laptop, so I have like kids, you know. So if I'm out, something's happening, and I don't have my laptop, I'm drawing dead, or my actual like ledger. So depends. I don't sell anyways. So like, why do I need to do transactions on my mobile?
Yeah, but I will say I scooped a dozen dead fellas, like around 0.1, 0.15 ETH on my phone at an arcade watching my kids. So
they're playing skee ball and you're trying to get the dead fellas in.
So, back to like the shilling, like, if you follow my Twitter, Hammer Z NFT, look, I shill all the time, but I'm trying to put out information that I think is going to be helpful to people. And if somebody has followed my Twitter for the last 6 months, more than likely, if they followed some of those, suggestions, they've probably done pretty well.
I had this talk with someone, like, now I'm going to throw him under the bus. Like, anyone that tweeted over the last, 8 months has probably done pretty well. So you're right.
Yeah.
Definitely great follow.
Yeah.
But also, my 5-year-old son's, on fire tweeting NFT stuff the last 8 months.
Okay. Everybody in the game was making good calls during the bull runs. It's true. It's true.
All right, what do you want to hit on next?
All right, so I think that was a pretty good wrap up on what's going on with Pixel Vault. Another big thing that's happening that's on delay is Cool Cats, Cool Pets. You have Cool Cats?
I do. I just own one. Yeah. And I got it pretty early on and just have been holding. It was in that music video I made. I don't know if you saw that ever, the Allies. It was 40 different NFTs in the animated music video, but one of the main 5 bandmates is a cool cat.
A cool cat.
Like a cool punk rock mohawk with a mustache guy with a tank top. It's a pretty good one. But I haven't been following every detail. I'm Discord exhausts me now. Like I said, I stopped grinding 4 months ago. But yesterday I finally went to get the pet, and it was the site was down. They're trying to figure it out. Is there an update on that today? And then what do you expect just in general of the pets? Because it's a pretty unique, as far as I understand it, again, haven't looked into it much. It's their version of the mutant ape, except honestly cooler, because you actually get to feed in a sense, almost what was that thing back, Tamagotchi or something back in the day, where you could choose what to do with your little pet egg or whatever it is. And based on the decisions you made, it's actually going to form its traits and what the cool pet will look like. So you have actual say in that. And so if you want to dive in a little bit more, first, again, with what's causing the delay, what we expect, and then kind of the details of the project's future. Yeah.
Yeah, so they had some DNS error somewhere in the world that affected, it didn't sound like too many users, but they wanted to just clean that up and get that right before they continued minting. So they paused minting. And my understanding is that it should be up and running hopefully by tomorrow. They originally said 48 hours yesterday.
Yeah.
Before we jumped on, I checked and there was not an update. There could be one now, but I haven't checked. So, people I think who have been in Cool Cats are very understanding. The Cool Cats team are just the nicest people in the space, so when they say you can tell they feel really bad about the delay, and that's authentic. So I don't think it's too big of a deal. I know a lot of people were very excited. I think what's going to happen here is, really dependent early on what the people who are on the allow list, which they're doing about half of the 20,000 are allow list spots.
Right.
And so what do you think the allow list people who are picking up a cat at 0.5 ETH that out the gate might be worth 2.5 ETH are going to do?
You mean the pet?
The pet.
I actually was surprised. I'll be honest. Again, I hadn't looked into this at all. I was wow, 0.5. They're going for it, because 0.5 is a lot more than a general minting price would be, right? At the same time, if you still own a cat and you got one earlier, you're up so much you don't care. So they're going to get whatever they want to get. But that surprised me a little bit. And so I'm not, my initial reaction outside of course I'm going to pay the 0.5 because it's probably going to go up, was I am curious if it delays the cycle of how it goes up. It could.
So you don't need to pay. So if you have a cat, you get to claim it for free.
Who's paying the 0.5? That's the 10,000 that aren't on the allow list.
Are for the Cool Cat holders. The other 10,000 go to these people who have earned allow list spot, and they have to pay 0.5.
And they pay the 0.5 for one.
And this is going to be
that's what you're asking about then, is that subset.
Yeah, because it's an interesting demographic, because it could be people who are, NFT traders, but it could also be very new people who really were in that Discord. I think the Cool Cats community was trying to reward people who are, showing up and putting in effort. So it could be somebody's first NFT.
Sure. That's fair. I'm not sure. I has anyone done something like that before? Really? It's an interesting setup. I'm not sure how it'll actually, the market, so to speak, will respond. That's good. I'll have to sit on. I didn't realize that part. I'm glad you cleared it up. That's why we do the show sometimes. And I was honest, like I hadn't dug in, but that makes a lot more sense. I was ready to pay 0.5 myself.
Yeah.
So maybe they messed up. Maybe they should have charged.
Just send your 0.5 to 248.eth.
Okay. Kobe fan, huh?
There you go. So I think what's going to happen is some of the people who got the allow list spots are going to probably take profit, and it might cause like a momentary dip. So if the pets get down to like 2 or even better, like below 2, that's a zone that I'm looking to pick some up, and it probably won't last long. And I think the pets are going to end up being very popular. This whole thing becomes like gamified. This is now like the milk token is going to come into play. It's going to essentially become like a type of DeFi game, and it's going to be super interesting. And these items that you're going to be able to feed the pet are going to like determine the outcome of the pet. And so that's not determined yet. Like the 20,000 cool pets, the metadata on them, the rarity on them, it's going to be determined mostly by the community. I do think there's like legendary ones that you're going to either have a legendary or not, but it's getting a little game theory here because what is everyone going to do?
It's Tamagotchi. It's like a pretty good comp, actually.
Definitely.
I'm hearing more. Whatever happened to Tamagotchi? Sorry, I out of respect to cool pets and cool cats, like it's a pretty good idea because that was like the thing for a few years and then it completely disappeared.
Yeah, it disappeared. It reincarnated as cool cats.
And now you do like the NFT version in an actually cooler game theory fashion that maybe is even like play to earn in a sense. I dig it. It's one of those things. I've said this before on this show. Zed Run especially. If I start doing it, then I need to spend a lot more time, and I know ahead of time. I just can't like start, otherwise it ropes me in. So I don't know if I'll ever go crazy. But here's my question: if I get one of those, if you were me, you're not in like the community. I am, but like not really. I'm not paying attention to stuff. Would you just hold on to it for a while? Like you just think there's, but if I'm not actually going to act on the actual like feeding it the milk token, like if I'm not capitalizing on that, then is it just better to like sell it and let someone else do it? Hiring someone to do it? Like what would you do?
Well, first of all, let's not pretend like you're going to sell, right?
Because fair.
But it depends, right? Like, do you want to play the game of trying to earn milk token? Because if you do, this is going to help you earn milk token. You're going to be able to stake the pet once it's in its full form. So in that case, you're going to want to play it through, feed it, kind of play that game, get the pet, and then stake your cat and your pet and just like stack up milk.
I definitely should do that then, because then I can just stake and let it go for a while and just stack the milk.
Right. But
okay, that doesn't take too much effort.
Because that's the thing, people who want to be really active, they can quest the cat, which I guess is to do a number of tasks throughout the day, every day. I don't know how much time this takes. It was a little intimidating to me.
That was like the Tamagotchi thing would like be like beeping at you every 30 minutes and need to get fed.
But like you or I, what we might do is just stake the pet, and you still get milk, but you're not going to get as much, but that's still okay. But if that's not your goal and you're not really interested in accumulating milk token, then I wouldn't even touch it, and I would just hold the egg. Is
it going to have like a virgin side of it where it's like an like
an unripped pack?
Yes, the unopened pack.
And down the line, a lot of these have been minted out, and here's Preston sitting on a
There's like 500 of those left or something. But yeah, I got it. All right. Yeah. That's interesting. Is there a last question, then we can move on to the next topic? Is there like a time frame on like it's basically forever as far as an unopened pack or like the egg and actually feeding it or starting to do stuff like you could start in 3 years versus 3 weeks versus.
So you don't have to claim your pet. There is a way that you could check to see if a cat that's listed on the market has already claimed their pet or not, because that should be figured
Right.
into the price.
The actual price. Of
So if you see the floor on the Cool Cats is down, it's because probably someone has claimed their pet and now are listing a cat that doesn't have a pet.
There's going to be some bots that make some really good scoops
No
for
question.
people like that in the next, at least the immediate week to 2 weeks after. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That's a pretty good rundown on it. You taught me a bunch. So
yeah, hopefully
that's
people learn something about it. But I would say, like, if you're on the allow list and you're lucky enough to get a pet, hold the pet, take care of the pet, cuddle the pet, feed the pet, don't abandon it. Or if you weren't lucky enough, you're probably sitting there watching the marketplace looking to snipe a pet on the cheap if they get dumped, which I can tell you a lot of people are looking at that. And so another topic I wanted to kind of hit on is LooksRare. LooksRare is a decentralized NFT platform that has burst on the scene, and they are being, sponsored by, I don't know his or her level of involvement in creating it, but by Dingaling, who is a very well-respected
dude, that guy
whale.
crushes everything he touches. Just, it's insane. Yeah. I think of even like Pixel Vault assets, I believe he, outside of Pixel Vault themselves, I think he's probably the biggest holder. And maybe I'm like third or fourth, but like he's for sure ahead of me, and I like was one of the guys that started the thing. So
Actually, now that you mention it,
he doesn't sell anything.
He doesn't sell anything.
Zero.
And you don't sell anything.
No, we're not the same person.
Are
No.
you Dingaling?
I would.
Is this the alpha? Are you Dingaling?
Even if I was, I wouldn't have called myself Dingaling. So that ends the conversation there. I mean, he was buying a bunch of Top Shot stuff back in the day too. Like he was, I think he's the highest, or at least tied now. I saw something for a Bored APO. It's like 105. Someone else just tied him. Was at 104 and bought another one like this, I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago. He owns a ton of land. I'm not sure. There might be someone out there that knows him more personally. I'm not sure where all the ETH came from. I'd love to know his story, but like there's so much of it because
he did an interview with somebody in the Top Shot community last year, and it was like his voice was even like distorted, so you couldn't even really make out his voice. And one of the questions was about his name, Dingaling, and his answer was,
"Could you tell if he's American or not?" Or is it that?
Couldn't
distorted?
tell,
Okay.
and for some reason, and I don't know, I don't have any reason really or evidence, but like I always pictured Dingaling to be Asian, like I don't know why.
Okay.
But anyways, he says like they asked him what's with the name Dingaling, and his answer was, well, I just thought it would be really funny to go around social media calling myself Dingaling.
And now he's like one of the whales of this whole space. So he nailed that part of it.
So,
for sure.
But the reason he came up is because he's been a big vocal advocate of LooksRare. LooksRare offers a LooksRare token, which if you stake it, you get basically a very high APR staking, and also you get rewards on the trades. And there's a lot of incentives that they put in place to incentivize people to use LooksRare instead of OpenSea, and it appears that that's working out. So what's your take?
How great has been, if you're a LooksRare supporter, how great has it been with all the stuff happening with OpenSea? Sucks for the people that are getting their apes scooped at 7 ETH. Obviously, I don't mean to put them down or needle them anymore, but like OpenSea has some issues. Now you have LooksRare, which is like the decentralized version of the optimal platform for NFT use and trading, and like where the people actually are gaining in the actual volume and action itself. It was pretty brilliant. Like I was just pulled this up. It's a 25 tweet thread. I was hoping it was less. I could actually read it all. But Moon Overlord did one early on. It's January 11th. He said an airdrop to change the NFT industry about LooksRare. And he's like, I'm not effing around this time. Like, this is a real thread. Because sometimes you do the threads where it's like one of 690 and then that's it. No one actually goes to number 2 or whatever. Like, funny joke. I've seen it 107 times. He wasn't joking. He was into this thread. But he's also an investor in it. So, like, he was just like, caveat. But it really is going to what seems to be like the decentralized NFT marketplace. And so we don't need to go into a ton of detail, but if you're looking at that in a way that everyone else can earn. And I was so surprised by, I claimed my Lux tokens I was allotted from my main wallets that I have at the start. After 3 days, I realized how much it's actually wrapped ether that you get. You can swap it no problem later with a small fee for gas. I was surprised how much it was accumulating after 3 days that I just bought as much as I could and then staked that for the last, month or so now. The halving on as far as APR return, the return is going to be happening in a couple days, I believe. I'm not sure if it's going to affect the price of Lux, but I'll just, and then with the ETH drop, putting ETH into it, that's you're earning ETH plus you're earning more Lux. Like it just keeps compounding on the stake. Like it's been insane, the returns people are getting the last few weeks. I'm not sure if it's going to change much as far as people are going to all dump it. Like here's the way I was wanted to look at it, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. And I probably just went really fast for people that aren't familiar with Lux Rare. Just you can dig in a little more. Again, Moon Overlord, January 11th. This thread was really good at explaining it all. But it's 600% plus the return over the course of the year. It's of course I want 600%. It's oh no, they're going to have it. Everyone's going to dump Lux token. You got to get rid of it now. They're going to dump it because they don't want 300% return. That's such a high number still. So if you're actually thinking about it, I think there's not only just the grand picture of what the marketplace itself can be. I don't know why anyone would be dumping it for the sake of I can't get 600% anymore. I can only get 330%. I think this continues longer. I wouldn't just bail now, but anyway, curious what your thoughts are and your experience so far.
Yeah, I think this APR, it attracted a lot of people like yourself to put money into the Lux token and stake it.
Upfront
right?
money, yeah.
It was one of the most high ROI staking plays of the year here or and beyond. So,
I think real quick, I think he put it in this thread actually. It was something to the nature of it's pretty telling when you see the wallets, chronological order, what the wallets are doing. It's wallet, whatever, OX, whatever, sells 0.28 worth of Lux to, converts it to ETH or whatever. Everyone's dumping their claim just right away to get money. And then it's so 0.2, 0.13, 0.35, purchase order 40 ETH worth of Lux, purchase order 30 ETH worth of Lux, sell 0.15. So it's wait, okay, the people that actually matter are buying Lux.
The whales were,
and then everyone that was just claiming and so if you're looking at the actual transactions themselves, I thought it was pretty telling. That's what made me. I didn't put a ton in. I think I had 15 ETH. I ended up buying more Lux with and then staking. When I saw that, it was too evident to me that the price of Lux isn't going to just go down because people are claiming and dumping ENS kind of that happened right eventually. So anyways, I interrupted you, but I just thought it was an interesting point.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say what's going to happen, but there's another factor here, which is that when you do transactions on LuxRare, there's a reward pool. So every day that gets divided up amongst the people who did the transactions. And so what that's causing is it's incentivizing people to do wash trading. So they're basically trading back and forth to themselves because each one of those trades counts for a transaction, and the net return they're getting from the reward is greater than the fees that they're paying to do those transactions.
2.5%.
So the fees 2%.
2%, okay.
And this reward evidently is more than that. But at some point, I think that the reward is gonna also change or taper.
Yeah.
And if the wash trading goes down and then the volume goes down,
then the reward obviously, yeah.
And then they might they could affect the tokens. So.
I think the out they have in poker term, the opportunity that arises though is that actual legitimate trading eventually starts happening more and more, right? People actually realize the incentive of just using LuxRare instead of OpenSea. And so yeah, that's why they kind of front loaded it, I think. It's their runway to build a real user base. And so if they can get that user base when the stuff starts depleting, then the rewards and that actual action can maybe be at least somewhat sustainable just because you're actually doing more legitimate transactions on the site.
It was pretty genius strategy actually, and it's working. Like I've been putting stuff when I'm selling it on both. Like if it's something substantial, I list on OpenSea and I list on LooksRare. I'll list on LooksRare like a tiny bit less just because I'm paying a smaller fee. And also there's like that reward. So like I'll even drop my price a little bit, and I've seen other people do that. And in like almost like half the time when I check to see what happened, it ends up getting bought on LooksRare.
Oh, really?
So yeah, the volume is coming up, and so this is something to watch. What I'm not sure though is, when Coinbase NFT comes out, like that could be a big distraction and disruption to this plan too.
They were smart to beat it at least to get something going, but you're right. Like I don't even know what the number is. Like the pre-signups to Coinbase NFT, I know was like over 500,000 users, which is like more than OpenSea even has. Just like people are already accustomed to using Coinbase. So it's like, all right, well, when that comes out, I'll start looking at NFTs. It's the line everyone uses when it's like, we're still early or whatever. I'm rooting for LooksRare though, not because financially, I think it's the essence of like what a decentralized like society is, right? Like, and now you can have an NFT platform that is genuinely that. That's just cool as hell. So,
I think that's always going to separate it from like something like Coinbase.
For sure.
Because it's decentralized, and that's at its core, I think, more attractive to people.
Last thing, I know we are running up on our time. I mentioned a little bit about my London trip. I'm just super bullish. People can stay connected with me and follow along. But as far as Wagman United goes, people know we're trying to acquire a football club over there. We're close. But Super Bowl, I mentioned we might have something that's going to appear potentially during the Super Bowl. A lot of rumors regarding Bored Ape Yacht Club and Super Bowl stuff. Maybe it's a commercial. Maybe it's the halftime show. Snoop has his own Bored Ape anyways. Like, what do you make of it in general? Is this why you've just seen such a power run from Bored Ape, where the floor now is well over 100 ETH? What do we expect then right after the Super Bowl? Like, just what are your overreaching thoughts on Bored Ape Yacht Club, potential Super Bowl rumors, which no one really knows what's going to happen? And then post that, is it like, are we going to see like a drop off?
Good question. And I have a question for you too. So first of all, I think like this crazy pump that we just saw is like part of essentially like an NFT super cycle, where there's the number of people who are in the space is like 100xing before our eyes. And this is leading to just a lot of uptake in NFTs. And it also like coincided with Lunar New Year. And I think that the Asian marketplace, some people who have a lot of money may have been rewarding themselves with a nice Bored Ape set. I saw that actually.
That makes some sense. Okay.
But as far as like Super Bowl, I do think that Bored Ape Yacht Club will somehow make an appearance. Now, there's been wild theories, and like the best one that I saw was somebody said, what if Snoop Dogg drinks his mutant serum on stage? Like
you somehow get a real life version of his mutant serum.
So I think there'll be some references.
Okay, here's the question. What does Snoop Dogg turn into if he drinks it?
Right. I'm not even going to go for it. Yeah. So
he's out.
I'm out.
Next week, I'll think up some more theories.
But I do fear that like maybe in NFT Twitter, it will be like something will happen. There'll be some reference. Maybe they'll reference it, but I'm worried it will go over the head of the general public, and then we'll be celebrating it on NFT Twitter, but it's not going to cause like everybody to rush in and just go grab a Bored Ape. Now, I could be wrong. Like maybe they're going to make a big deal about it. It's going to be like this Bored Ape halftime show and we all lose it. But I think more than likely it's going to be some type of reference that stands out to us, but maybe goes over the head of like most other viewers. And that, I think probably ripping a sale back at this like 120 or 115 ETH floor was a good idea in the short run. In the long run, it seems like Bored Ape Yacht Club will not be stopped. But my question to you that was super interesting was that Justin Bieber, he bought a Bored Ape for 500 ETH.
Yeah.
And it looks like the ape that he bought was more or less like a floor ape and maybe was worth like around 110 ETH at the time. So my question is, do you think that Justin Bieber doesn't care, he's loaded, he's like, I like this ape, and he just aped in and he just paid 500 ETH? Or B, do you think maybe somebody that was advising him on the purchase, like, because this is what happens with celebrities, that there's like somebody that's more of an expert with NFTs who oftentimes help people find their Bored Ape,
for sure. Yeah.
And maybe that person steered Justin the wrong way. Or C, was this ape already picked out for Justin, already purchased, and the 500 ETH transaction was staged to light up the bot and blow up Twitter like it did?
So this is what my answer was going to be. Even if it wasn't staged, I just did the math, that he overpaid by coincidentally exactly $1 million. That could either be some sort of fee that we don't know about for something, or it could even be the fee they're paying for the extra advertisement it brought Bieber in overpaying by so much for a floor ape. Like the statement he's making is like paying an extra over by, it's literally $1 million to a T overpaid. So maybe he had someone that was like, hey, you should overpay by $1 million. You're going to get way more press that's worth a lot more than $1 million if you do that. Okay. But like it'd just be that.
Yeah.
And they probably have already made more than that in eyeballs than he would have if he was just one of the other celebrities that got one, because there's so many.
Yeah. That
was my first impression, having been asked the question for the first time a few seconds ago. There could be a lot more to it. It could be one of those things that, here's the other thing I didn't ever look at. Was it listed? Or was it one where you had to make an offer and then the person had to accept it?
I believe it was listed at 500 and he purchased it.
But it also could just be like, I literally don't care. That's the one I want. Yeah. And I have to pay 500. He might have offered 200 and he never got it. The guy never accepted her, girl. 300, nope. 400, nope. 500, okay, fine. Like, I don't know. It could just be as simple as that too. But yeah, it's an interesting question.
So that was pretty interesting to see. Yeah, did you want to tell us a little bit about your trip to London?
No, other than it was really good, and I referenced it earlier. I'm just bullish on everything. I almost tweeted, I always hate the people that are like so bullish. Like, that's it. That's the tweet. And I had the first time in my life I was flying back. Then I had the dinner Monday night with Sean and my partner Eben in the WAGMI United stuff. And I was like, I might actually tweet that. No, I was like, no, you can't be one of those people. So I didn't, but I've really genuinely like felt that way. I'm also doing something else with some record music producers in the space that have like a pretty big. They're pretty big names. They've done a lot as far as like real world music industry stuff goes the last 15 years or so. And so, you know what happened with Linkstyle? You familiar with that?
I was familiar with Linkstyle. I don't know what happened to it.
Well, nothing's happened. Sorry, I just meant like you're familiar with like their origin story. They basically were like, hey, what if we put together a group to buy a golf course?
Yeah.
They put out membership tiers. I think 2 of them. You could get one, and now you're part of the DAO. You have access to the golf club. You're going to pick which course you buy. You can play there throughout the year. Like they're trying to like form an ownership group that's decentralized that owns a golf course. It's a pretty cool concept. But it gave me the thought, so I have to give them some love, and that didn't even intend to go into this, but I'm actually pretty bullish about this because I've been so many people in the music industry are like, I know NFTs and Web3 are going to change the music industry game, but right now anyone that's worth anything in the music industry signed to a record label, so now they're still tied. Like they can't do anything. The record label, and if you do something, the record label just wants a huge piece of it. So you're actually more incentivized to wait before you try an NFT project of some sort or anything, because you just don't want to give 80% to the record label.
Right. So
we're like, well, what if we formed like an indie DAO? The people are actually the record label. It's like a Web3 record label. The people choose the artists that these producers can actually produce them because they're actually real world, like top notch producers. We have this other cool platform. It's called Entangled Audio, which is 0 latency shows with fan interaction or like band practices. That's going to be partnered with this. And we're like, what if we just like make a record label of the people for the artists, right? For the creators, for the musicians. And so hopefully that gets off the ground here in the next month too. But the essence of it is like, why shouldn't like the people be the record label? Like because theoretically they're incentivized once you actually own a piece of the record label itself. You're incentivized more than you ever were before to get the artists you like everywhere, like all over TikTok and whatever, because now you're actually reaping in royalties yourself because you have a piece of the record label via the DAO ownership. And so there's this like new like A&R fan interaction and engagement that I think is pretty cool on the music side. And I grew up, my dad works in the music industry, so that's why we had food on the table growing up. And so I kind of feel like I got to do something on that side of things, just kind of owe it to the industry. So I'm trying to work up something cool there. But yeah, so that's why I'm like, just so much going on, but it's like all positive. So I hate to be that guy, but it really is. I'm just excited.
We'll have to talk about that more because I'm working with a Grammy, 3-time Grammy nominated producer.
Okay.
Who's also taught himself digital art, 3D art rendering, and this guy's just like a genius, apparently.
Nice.
Like
you live down here?
He doesn't live around here, but I met him on Twitter. I actually met him through the Rumble community. His name's Angel, and very talented. And we're working on something a little bit different, but music related. So I'll definitely rap with you about it. Yeah.
Right when Quan, hurry and end the show so we can talk about this. We'll chat. What's great about this is it's like open to partnerships and collaborations, because the idea is like the more people involved and the bigger the network is and the more you can accomplish and the more efficiently you can accomplish it. So it's kind of just the brilliance of what all of this is. Yeah, we can end it on that, man. Good show. Appreciate the help. Thanks for sitting at the desk, coming in. I know I got interviewed a little bit in the beginning, but then we got through everything else. It was good. There's just a lot going down, but we're going to bring back the typical interview process here on the Lucky Trader NFT Show next week. Once we have verification on the guest, we'll tweet it out. The Lucky Trader at Lucky Trader HQ, they'll tweet it out. But thanks for everyone that tuned in. We'll be on Apple and Spotify here shortly as well. For those that are just watching live, should be up tomorrow. You can listen in there. And that's that, man. You enjoy the rest of your week. Quan, thanks for your help, bud.
Thanks, Quan.